Alright, hello everybody and welcome to some Minecraft Musings, Saturday morning edition. Yeah, I ended up playing a lot of Elden Ring with my buddy last night. It was awesome. I love that game. But I wanted to do a bit of talking on here. So, the last few, oh, sorry, I'm also setting my alarm here, and not PM, it's AM. 30 minutes, sweet. So, and I also did this because I'm tired of coming back to a dead me with my controller drift, which comes and goes. I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm definitely not complaining about technology. Also, let's see. Oops. I am going to. Oh. Hmm. Here's how we get rid of that. But anyways, I think what I'm gonna do is do a little exploring. So I want to get. Oh no no, that's right. Sorry, I'm kind of backtracking where I was doing stuff. So I went down into the river to plant sugarcane to get paper so we could do some exploring. So let's go check and see how that's doing. So I have this watermelon bridge. There's a town here. So if you look at the mini map, there's a river. Oh, sorry, you can't really see it. So there's a river there, a little bit of blue. The rest of it's frozen over. Then it goes into a bunch of other rivers. But that marks this village. So, and I have a few stuff going here. I have a whole stack of iron. So that was pretty cool. Ooh, also, just really, well, no. I was thinking I could mold that into. Also, let's go farther up that way. I could craft that into blocks of iron and make it more portable, but there's still going to be two stacks taken up, the blocks and then the remainder. Unless it's perfectly rounded out to, I think it's 9 ingots makes one block of iron. Okay. So I could have actually done it off of the. Whee! Oh, that'd be bad to hit it right at the bottom. Anyways, there's sugarcane down here, so it's not growing, which tells me that that might have been. I'm trying to think of how I could speed that along. If I could get. You know what? Let's actually. What can we get rid of? Ice. Okay, we're going to take this stuff with us, and for now. Yes, I realize this is dangerous. And see, there's the slight drift happening, picking things around. Anyways, we'll take this sugarcane with us. We'll go to where it's a little warmer, see if we can't find more. All we need is wood and paper for, well, wood for a crafting table, and then wood and paper for a cartography table. And then from that, we can explore. Also, I just realized I'm going the wrong way. There's going to be some setup going. So, we'll explore a new land. Thinking really I should go up and over that. There we go. It's more likely to be more sugarcane that way. And then I can make paper, cartography table, all that, and we'll be set. So, we just gotta climb our way up. Okay, yeah, ever since the Caves and Cliffs update, Minecraft has gotten pretty intense for climbing. So, I mean, in fact, I got all excited a couple episodes ago because I wanted to build this gigantic black fortress up in Andarius proper. Ooh, what's that? Oh, it's pod soil. Okay, I was like, so it's just some kind of random desert place. Ooh, potentially dangerous. You gotta be careful running through these taiga forests. I think that's what these biomes are called. But anyways, no. So now, oh, I'm still blown away by the Tucker interview with Putin. Like I know, I still not a fan of Tucker. Like he's used his work to manipulate a lot of things to rile up a lot of people. But then at the same time, I've been constantly worried about my own camp. Like, what are the Democrats doing for global peace? Now, and as a white hat, I know it's not the same as being military or law enforcement, but I did sign an oath to protect people against cybercrime, which in relation, cybercrime is very deeply connected with regular crime and all of the factors that lead up to crime, like poverty or inequality or death or murder and it was one of my criticisms of Obama too, because during Obama's presidency, we bombed so many people in the Middle East. Like there was about 20,000. Every time I look this up, it's about 20,000 civilian casualties. That means there's 20,000 people, and I could be wrong. If anybody fact checks me with better data, fine. But like whenever I Google it, it's pretty unanimous. It's like, yep. So, well, no, I'll ignore the iron for now. We're on a mission. We're gonna go explore. That's how I got like 2,000 hours on this game. Alright, so let's just use dirt, I guess. Okay, just build a bridge across. I'm not seeing any sugarcane. So, but either way, the warmer areas, it should be easier. And then I'm hoping what's going to happen is I'll dip down and I'll see like an ice spikes biome. Looks like I've already been here. See that dirt block floating there, left over from when I came over here. Okay. So, but anyways, no, Obama bombed a bunch of people, and it wasn't just him. It was his Congress, like his cabinet, like the government at the time. And the reason I keep bringing this stuff up, yeah, there's another bridge. You can see. Ooh, actually, I think about it. Maybe I might have made a mine cart or a mine rail. Yeah, because eventually, if you go all the way to the east on this map, there's a gigantic mountainous area with cherry blossoms that I wanted to build a base on too. But I might actually be inviting some friends and colleagues into this world, so I'm kind of leaving these fringe maps mostly open in case they want to build on them. But anyways, it's important if you're going to be working in security and trying to protect your own people, your own country, your own towns, villages, cities, whatever, you need to understand the motives behind people that might do harm to those. Why would they invade? Why would they attack? Why would they do terrorist things? Like, why would they want death for any of the people you're trying to protect? Well, from the outside looking in, America is a very scary country. Like, we are divided against ourselves almost every. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Ice spikes biome. They usually have, I want to say blue ice, but if nothing else. And I really need to get a pickaxe with silk touch, but I don't want to use this one with silk touch because then I'd be getting ores every time I try to mine something. And then I'd have to break it with a different pickaxe, so it actually creates more work of my nice pickaxe. And I wonder if this is just ice. If it's packed ice, then okay. But if it's just ice, that's kind of lame. Let's see. Yes, packed ice. So it's still, for every 6 packed ice, you get 1 blue ice. So let's go in the middle here and maybe mine out some. Or just mark it on the map that we know that this is ice spikes. Also, I'm cautious about the snow. Ever since they added that mechanic where you can sink into it and start to freeze to death, it's kind of freaky to be walking on snow. It's dangerous. And I can tell I'm starting to slow down in some places, and I don't know if that's the... Yeah, and see, that's regular ice. So if we got that, you need 6 regular ice just to make 1 packed ice. Yeah, let's talk about that. So anyways, you need to take into account all these things. And that was what was great living with Muslims from Saudi Arabia, was because they would see things and be like, hey man, what do you think about this? Like, why do you think this is? I'd be like, I don't have a good answer for that. And I said that more times than I liked. Like, one time we blew up a hospital. Um, and it was funny because when I was getting my cybersecurity certificate, our professor was a 20-year military veteran, and he said something like, we don't do things like blow up hospitals. And I kind of like looked up. I was like, wait a minute. And then I pulled up the article. In fact, let's do it right now, just so you know I'm not talking And I love my country. Don't ever get me wrong. I love my country. I'm very grateful to have been born in America. But there's a lot of people in the world that have not been born in America. And, well, and really, even as you say it like that, we shouldn't have to worry whether we were born in America or not. Everybody should have the same wonderful life that's potential. And I'm not saying no other country is capable of a wonderful life. That's far from the truth, too. But, in fact, I've been to Costa Rica and saw just how happy they are down there overall with a lot less than we have here. Let's see. And I was happy in Buena Vista too. It was a small mountain town. We had to drive 2 hours to get to the nearest city to do any real shopping or malls or whatever. But we were happy up in our little mountain town with the beautiful scenery and all the hiking and swimming and like camping we could do. Let's see. U.S. blows up hospital. There we go. I'm just gonna do that. Kunduz hospital attack in depth on October 3rd, 2015. Which, yep, that sounds about right. U.S. airstrikes destroyed our trauma hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan, killing 42 people. So, right there. Now, I think it was evacuated. 42 people sounds pretty mild for blowing up a hospital. I mean, that's still horrible. Like, yeah, then Afghan hospital bombing. Civilians accidentally struck on October 6, 2015. And that tracks, because that's about, you know, when my roommate, because he got his news from Al Jazeera, because that's just what they're used to. And he showed me the article. He's like, "Hey, look what just happened." And I'm like, "What? No way." And then I didn't believe it at first. I was like, "What? We don't do that. We were programmed to be like, no, we don't harm the innocent. We don't this and that." And then yet you see the U.S. government is like printed on a lot of the weapons that the terrorists are using, or oh, but we're funding the rebels, and or we're giving weapons to one side. So and that's just it. And I was thinking about that the whole time watching Putin speak, was because it's like, he's not the worst guy in the world. I mean, for every finger we point at Putin for invading Ukraine, we got to point a finger back at us for 20,000 people dead. And civilians, mind you. I keep saying 20,000 because that's 20,000 innocent people that didn't want anything to do with any of that. And most of the Taliban and the people fighting in the military part didn't want to do it either. Like they weren't part of a formal military or anything. They were just like, oh crud, we're getting attacked, or religious beliefs is really, let's get down to it. I mean, Islam spread by the sword and all that. And that's one thing I'm debating with the guy, because that might be what's written in the book, but from every last person that I've met that um, worships Islam and worships Muhammad, they don't even worship Muhammad. They worship Allah and they say Muhammad is a prophet. Like they just leave him at that. At least like that's more believable. I mean, Christianity, like we insist that Jesus is king. Jesus was actually a god. And it's like that's kind of dangerous thinking. Like you're putting a human on a pedestal. And I don't care how holy he was or what he was doing. I mean, like, given the right lens, almost anybody could be seen as that. So it's like, I don't know. Actually, you know what we could do? We could just harvest this whole ice spikes biome. There's a whole village there. Nice. Okay, I was about to say, then we could build a crafting table. We can convert this into blue ice, and you'll see what I'm doing eventually. We're gonna improve our nether line or railways with ice, blue ice, and boats, because you can travel much faster on a boat and blue ice and some glass. You space it out, and again, that's from Waddles. He's one of my favorite YouTubers for just actual Minecraft stuff. He's PG. You can watch him no matter what age you are. You can watch this no matter what age you are, but just be known, you might have some serious questions for your parents if you watch this as a kid. So, no, I like to think that we're sifting through the nonsense. And so one of the things I'm talking about right now, so yeah, there's the Putin interview, which I loved it. I mean, Tucker was, I don't know. I didn't like how they brought up how Trump would have probably had a better time with Putin, because I don't like Trump at all. But I mean, he's not completely evil. Like he did give us all 1,200 bucks. That was like a direct like check from him, and he's like, "Hey, here's some money." It's like, wow, that's never been done before. I've never just gotten a check for $1,200. Granted, a lot of the tax cuts that he gave for the wealthy, I wonder how much, like, we could have gotten back on our taxes too. Like, if we just got forgiven taxes, that would probably be about as much money. I mean, because I know I spend a few $1,000s every month in taxes now, that I don't ever see. But anyways, that's besides the point. Um, we'll get one more stack, and then we'll. And I'm using my axe with Silk Touch because I use the Silk Touch to get the melons, basically the watermelons, but they just call them melons. Anyways, I don't know. It's cause for concern because I can't just be a blind Democrat, blind to these war atrocities. Like I almost want to say that Biden could be considered a war criminal for shipping all of these weapons to Ukraine. Like, and part of the Putin, I would like to fact check and look into this part a little better because as I say that, I could be confused. I could have been convinced, and I could have been, some nice, pleasant fireside chat talk. That's how it happens. Like, I mean, I could be missing some things, but the idea that Russia wants to expand outward, I don't see it. I mean, there's been this, discrepancy about Ukraine. Like, people that live there identify as Russians. There's a lot of like Russian nationalists there that like they consider themselves Russian, and I don't know. And there's a whole bunch of internal stuff that I don't even understand, and it's not part of me. So like, for one, it's like me deciding about abortion. It's not really my place. You know, it's for women to decide. It's for the Ukrainians to decide. Well, and then part of the interview that worried me was Putin talked about Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, telling them not to negotiate. Like the war could have been over, And then Zelensky started saying all of Ukraine is Ukraine. And well, yeah, that sounds beautiful. Oh, how patriotic. This is our land, this is your land. Like, America has a bunch of songs we sing about how great our country is and blah 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 too. But at what cost? Like, sorry, I thought I was sinking. At what cost? I mean, people are literally dying. Like, that's what's concerning to me. Now, it is. Ooh, blue ice. Nice. And now we can take back, well, really all of this stuff. Where's that dirt? There you go. But, and this goes back to Neil deGrasse Tyson on The Colbert Show, which is a very democratic show, a very liberal show. And Neil is a scientist that is pretty liberal, but at the same time, like he was on Fox Business talking about things too, and that was really refreshing. I was like, ah, cool. Like he's on this channel that's mostly MAGA and Fox and Republican, and yet they're taking an interest in science, so that's wonderful. And like there should be no borders. I don't care who you vote for or what your political views are or your religious views. Everybody deserves to have an education. Like everybody deserves to have a seat at the table, and that's why I'm trying to like convince people to take money out of campaigning because, as it is, only the wealthy elite are able to participate in politics. Or you either have to be a senator for like 20 years, or you have to have a very wealthy family that could put you through law school, like all of these things. And if you're not, then guess what? You're never going to be in there. Like, you're not going to be. You're going to be the one casting the vote, which may or may not make a difference either. So, anyways, I digress. But uh, all of Ukraine is Ukraine, like versus death. And I remember Elon came out and said this war could be over if like just a few areas, I think it's Crimea, Donbass, and like one other place was given to Russia or stayed Russian. And most of the people that live there identify as Russian. So it's like I didn't see a huge problem with it. But of course, I like Elon because of what he did with XApp and Twitter and forcing us to talk to our fellow citizens that normally we wouldn't be engaging with had Elon not messed with the algorithm and started forcing people to start seeing feeds. Well, not forcing people, but I mean, the feeds were starting to show with a bunch of, the other side. And it was beautiful. And I'm still going to continue to debate on things. And I've looked foolish in the last couple of debates. Like, it's hard on Twitter because you can only put so much stuff in those things. And then, you can't expect it all to be gold. Like, mm. Also, you know what? I do want a chest. There we go. So we can store this while we're doing it. So let's go ahead and put all our flotsam here. Oh, whoops. So, but anyways, from a humanity perspective, from a pure white hat perspective, you can't be blurred by politics, religion, borders, feelings, emotion. You look at who's dying and who's not. Now, and that's why it's very concerning. It's because people are actually losing their lives over this, and that's just barbaric in this day and age that anybody has to die for a country. Like we've got so many tools to help people like build third world countries and we are too. My job puts me all over the world, in a study abroad school that I get to witness all these extra cultures and I don't stay for the whole thing, but it's like I know plenty of people that are out there interacting with all these people from around the world, getting a world view, and it's kind of sickening. Like, you talk to enough people, and it's like, America's doing a lot of this stuff. And it's like, what? But at the same time, and it used to be because we had to spread democracy. Well, almost everybody votes now. Like, almost every last country votes on their leaders. Like, they have some say in who rules. It's not some magical goose fairy that comes in and, like, or whatever. I'm just kidding. Like, the Merlin story of pulling a sword from a stone. Or, and Monty Python rips on that with the Holy Grail. It's like strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is not a form of government. Like, and that's true. You can't be led by somebody who is chosen by, some mystic force. Like, no, it has to be chosen by the people and understood and been like, hey, let's actually fix these things, you know. And we're getting to the point where the average person should really be involved in all things. Like, we should be able to have a vote on all the bills, have to read it, maybe you have to like attend a community, like a town hall forum online to discuss a topic, and then have the people talk it out and be like, okay, we vote for this, and no longer just leave it up to a few elected people because they're so easy to manipulate. I mean, they can be bought, and that's why we need to remove money from campaigning because every campaign costs so much money, and I hate seeing it. Like, I mean, a lot of the Democrats that I support and I like what they say, it's like, do you have a minute or could you spare a dollar or $3 for. It's like, no, I can't even spare a dollar. Like, I got kids to feed, I got me to feed. Like, I mean, I do charity and stuff when I choose it, but that's not charity. That's someone who has a lot of money needs a lot more money to go, make a lot of money. Like, can you pay me back that money? Like, do you have $3 to pay me back once you start making, what is it, like 100,000 a year to be a congressman? And I still say congressman with the idea of human, like congressman, policeman, businessman. If we started saying heman instead of men for males, then, you know, congressman would mean people, and actors would mean all actors and actresses, but instead we have to do actresses to acknowledge, I don't know, it's a whole thing. But no, it's concerning. And the science, logic, and reason need to take over than emotions and razzle dazzle and showmanship. And you get that with money in politics. It's just a fact. Like, it is too hard to keep politics without influence. Because that's the thing. When you start introducing money into politics and people basically taking bribes to do, whatever they want or vote the way they want, then you're introducing non-politicians in the realm of politics. So, in fact, I've seen that many times before. Is like all politicians should come with, just like NASCAR, they should have patches of their sponsors. So everybody that gave them money from their campaign, they should have a little patch on their shirts about it. So, and it's true. Like, you should know who is actually being represented there. Like, not your little $3 donation because you had some leftover lunch money and you gave it to, AOC. I've seen it recently. And that's a disheartening one because she's trying to like get even more drugs at least decriminalized, if not legalized. And I'm not saying, and people that know me and watch a lot of these things, I'm not in favor of a lot of like, hey, everybody go do drugs. Like, no, it's you shouldn't be thrown into jail and then go to court and have to pay thousands of dollars in fines, be on probation for years, have to pay a probation officer, have to pee in a cup and be drug tested to make sure that you're not drinking or using substances, while there's plenty of people out there, especially wealthy people, doing all the drugs they want, getting all drunk and like making poor decisions and being able to do that without any recourse. Yet, if you can't afford a good lawyer, chances are you're going to get a less of a deal, and you're going to have to do more time, pay more, and all this, and your family's going to suffer time away. I mean, one of my favorite videos to post in debates is Joe Biden, when he was a younger Joe Biden, he was a senator, and he held up a quarter, and he said, thanks to legislation we just pushed through, a quarter-size amount of crack cocaine will get you 5 years in prison. Are you kidding me? For having something the size of a quarter. I don't get. I mean, if it was like a nuclear bomb or nuclear material, okay. Or if it was a poison or like a virus that could kill like millions of people, okay. But a substance that could be consumed in a second and like forgotten just as quick, like, and then I mean, it's not good to have, but confiscate it and give them some classes. Like, don't put them in prison because that's 5 Christmases, 5 of your birthdays, 5 of every birthday of your kids, 5 of every birthday of your family, like five of every holiday that you're sitting in a box and they have to come visit you, and then they have to pay a ton of money to talk to you on the phone because they rack up the charges for that. And that's why I'm cautious about when politicians say they created jobs. What jobs did you create? Did you add more prisons? And are you hiring more prison staff to harass and abuse your citizens? Like that sounds. I don't want you to create jobs if that's the kind of job you're creating. And then in Biden too, it's so easy to poke holes in whenever he says he created X amount of jobs because well he had the pandemic. How many people lost their jobs due to COVID? And then again, COVID was a bipartisan thing. Trump was even like he spoke a lot about COVID and he tried to delay it and he tried to downplay it for the longest time, like, oh, this will blow over, this is that, rather than face the music and be like, okay, you know what, we actually got to start doing this, social distance, mask, all that, because it really did work a bit. Like, I mean, you're not going to block everything with a mask, and I think they did find out that they weren't completely useful, but okay, if you're trying to not clean up vomit, say you work in a bar or something, and you have someone that's about to throw up, if you get most of the vomit into a bucket, then you're only cleaning up a few drops of vomit. And however, or if they had a mask or face covering, then most of that stays contained or on them, and then they take it with them. Same with COVID or viruses or anything you breathe. Like if you catch the majority of it, then you only have to worry about the little bit that seeps through, and then how far can that travel? I mean, it's safer. Whether it's actually safe, no, it's not like at least from my understanding. But again, I'm a computer scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a virologist. I didn't spend years of my life studying this stuff like a lot of people did. And just like climate change, it was unanimous. Like, oh, COVID's kind of a bad thing. Like, it could kill you. Like, it can cause complications where normal conditions that you would survive, you might not now. I mean, but then you also got to be careful with that too. With COVID deaths, it's just like with cannabis deaths. When I was talking with Soldier, he was saying, there's over 300 deaths from cannabis. I was like, I looked at the article, I was like, no way. I would have heard about this. Like, I feel like I would have heard about someone dying from an overdose of weed. Like, because that's been a long stance for people that are pro cannabis, or at least pro healthier alternatives to alcohol. Because as is, we've got alcohol running rampant. People are able to make all sorts of poor choices, myself included. I had some bad times with alcohol. Or look at Brock Turner. He raped some chick behind a dumpster. Both of those people, had alcohol not been involved, or at least not to that degree, the lady wouldn't have been passed out behind a dumpster of all places to fall asleep. Like that's just horrible. You wake up like, oh God, what does my life come to? Like, those are those blackout stories that people conveniently like to forget and pretend didn't happen. It's like, no, you woke up behind a dumpster and oh, guess what? You got violated. You got assaulted. And it's like, and how is law enforcement and cybersecurity professionals and white hats, how are they all supposed to protect people when you have this running rampant? But you can't go the other way too. We learned about prohibition with the Roaring Twenties, I think it was, or the 30s, where they tried to ban alcohol. And Islamic countries, some of them, most of them are coming around now, did also that. They banned alcohol, and they would like sentence you, imprison you, cut off your hand, maybe in some cases, like some very serious stuff, trying to convince people, hey, don't do this. When the rest of the world is out having a jolly time, like enjoying it, having problems, having good times, like and all that. And then you got places like Portugal, which just decriminalize all drugs because they're like, you know what, we're not going to deal with this anymore. Like, we're tired of arresting our people, putting them in jail for things that they choose to do. I mean, as long as they're not hurting other people, like, do they deserve, like, is the punishment worthy of the crime? Like, and that's a no. 5 years for having one little bit of any substance, I don't care. Like, if it was a poison, like, I've been watching more Breaking Bad lately, and I just had the episodes where there was ricin. And it's like, okay, if you have a pocket full of ricin, I could see you doing 5 years in prison. Or more, I mean, because that's potentially a lot of people that could be murdered with that. And especially if you didn't handle it properly, then a bunch of accidental deaths. Like, that would be a substance I could see that prison would be fitting for. Having a little bit of drugs? No. And it puts a lot of strain on law enforcement, too. A cop doesn't want to pull you over and have to search and be like, uh-huh, what's this? I found a little baggie of powder. Like, you're going to prison. And it's like, no, they don't enjoy that. A lot of them sigh, roll their eyes, like, ugh, now I got to follow this set of protocols, like what to do when you find illegal narcotics in the car or on the person or whatever. And I even had a friend who got caught with weed. He was walking because he was drunk. And he made the safe choice. He was like, I don't feel like I should be driving. I'm going to walk home tonight. And he had some weed in his pocket. And he's a soldier, former CB. They used to build bases in war zones. Like that's what the CBs were. Is they would colonize. They were a part of the Navy, and they would colonize places where they're getting shot at and stuff in very dangerous areas, and trying to build a base to keep their other soldiers protected. And so he was a patriot. He was a hero, like what we would consider like, oh, how very honorable. Thank you for your service. Like shake your hand and stuff. But this particular cop found weed on him and was like, "Oh, I got to take you to jail." So he had a nice, pleasant night. He had his fill. He was walking home. He was being responsible as could be, considering the situation. And he had a little bit of stuff in his pocket that made him, oh, nope, you're not going to your nice bed at home. You're not going to have your water, your food. You're not going to be able to take care of yourself at your house. You get to sit in jail where someone has to look after you. You maybe get food every now and then. Like, you don't really get to choose when you eat or when you drink or when you, whatever. And a lot of people die going to prison or, well, jail. All right, that's it for this one. Let's continue on. I got time for one more. So, ta ta, I'll see you over in the next one.